Yeah, I'll have thoughts in my wrap up. I'm so excited. Sort of managed both of those together this year. I'm staying away from it. Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today. And for this video, we're going to be doing the JAN-uary book tag. Alright, before you get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what's a book that's coming out that is super hyped up that you don't care about. I'm very intrigued. Let's talk about it. Alright, so this is a tag that I have to do every year. It is the JAN-uary book tag, originally created by Jan Agaton. Love her. I'll put a link to her in the cards as well as in the description down below. Plus, this is also just a great tag filled with questions to kind of start your year off strong. So let's go ahead and dive into the first one. What was the last, I'm first, if you remember, book you read last year? Last book I read was Grin and Beard It by Penny Reed. This is the second in the Winston Brothers series, and it was a reread. Actually, I need to pull my bookmark out of there. This one is following Jethro, the oldest of the Winston boys, who used to be a bit of a troublemaker, but has since gone on the straight and narrow. And then he ends up having a romance with Sienna, this woman who is a famous actress and is desperate for a little bit of time off, a little bit of time to herself, and kind of finally find a little bit of normalcy in her Hollywood life. And she finds that in Jethro. He is my favorite for like the arc this man goes on in the background of the rest of the series. It is so much fun. So I really had a lot of fun returning to these two and getting to revisit their romance. It was so cute. As for the first book I read in 2025, I do actually know what that was. Bunny by Mona Awad, which was also a reread, rolled over from the end of 2024. Because if you don't know, December is my reread month, so I had to finish it out at the end of last year. Obviously, I absolutely hated it. I annotated the ever-living crap out of it. But this is a dark academia following Samantha, who is in a writing cohort, and all of the other women are this little clique that call each other the bunnies. And things definitely take a turn for the worse in Samantha's life when the bunnies invite her to join them. And it is a wild time. A weird wild time. I really enjoyed rereading this one and kind of going through picking up on things this second time around. Next question. What is your first read of this year? That was The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which was also the December pick for my Geek Squad book club that I host over on my Patreon. So I had to finish this baby out for the spoilery reading vlog that I posted, and it was okay. I kind of liked it. Yeah, I'll have thoughts in my wrap up. Next question. Share 3 of your reading goals for the year. I want to try and finish out at least 10 series this year. I finished out like 25 and my goal was only 6 in 2025. So I think 10 feels like a very manageable goal. Then I once again want to try and read 12 nonfiction. That works out to about 1 a month. And then finally, same as last year, I want to focus on reading down my own TBR. I actually did rather well with that. But of course, I can't resist. I'm always buying more books. People are gifting me books. They know I love to read. So my own TBR did go down, but like not nearly as much as I would love for it to have. So gonna continue to focus on that too. Next question. Share 3 of your most anticipated titles. Starting at the top, I gotta mention the next Murderbot book, Platform Decay by Martha Wells, of course. I'm so excited. I remember when I binged through this series, I marked like the last book on Goodreads read, and there were like 2 or 3 more books that were not yet announced, but planned to be coming out at some point. But then not long after that, I went to check again, and those next continuations like disappeared. I'm so glad that we actually are getting more of this character, more in this universe. I have so much fun. I've now dragged Josh into my love of these books, so I cannot wait to read this next one. Then after that, I gotta say Headlights by CJ Leede. I pretty much saw the cover and then saw CJ Leede's name and was like, yes, I cannot wait. Off of the last 2 books of hers, which I loved, adored all of the themes that were worked out in them. The character work was really, really strong, and the gore is like, oh man, it's so good. I don't know anything about Headlights, but I know I will be picking it up whenever it comes out. Then finally, another one that kind of similar thing was Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker. Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang was one of my top books of 2025. I cannot wait to see what this one has in store. And also just a very pretty cover. I gotta say, like, these gorgeous horror book covers always win me over. Next question. What goals did you reach and not reach last year? I actually did pretty well across the board when it came to my reading goals. I read more than 150 books. As I said, I did finish out 6 book series, more than 6 book series. I didn't quite read the 12 nonfiction books I had set up. I did read 6 doorstoppers, meaning books that are more than 450 pages. And I think I'm pretty sure I maintained that. No, maybe I bumped it to I bumped it to 10 for 2026 because this is kind of helping me get over my fear of bigger books. I think I did pretty well with that last year. Maintain that this year. And then, as I said, I also want to stay on top of my own TBR and keeping that number manageable. One other one is I want to maybe get better about mood reading. I always say this, but like, I'm just a planner. It's just how I am. I feel like if I mood read, I just don't read as fast. I don't like stay on top of myself because if I don't know what I'm going to be picking up next, I won't like have the excitement to pick it up next because I'm going to be mood reading. Whereas if I have everything laid out, I might have more energy to like work through a book more quickly because I'm excited to get to the next book that I have planned. It's like I want to be a mood reader and sometimes I do definitely need to be, but like I'm such a planner at the same time that I can never figure out if I need to be like planning or mood reading. And so I want to sort of manage both of those together this year. I also want to do better about managing to complete some Raid My Shelves videos because those do help me read down my own TBR. I already have a plan for a Valentine's Day video coming out here soon, so we'll see how that goes. Next question. Are there new releases you've heard of that you have no desire to read? I actually did kind of have a difficult time with this one because I feel I'm not really in the know about new releases a lot of the time unless they're authors I tend to follow. But I did notice that Abby Jimenez has another book coming out. I believe it's called The Night We Met. I've kind of written this author off, unfortunately. I just don't really like how she does conflict between characters. It always ends up frustrating me in my experience. I'm so glad other people are loving her new stuff. It's just, I'm staying away from it. And then on the other side, this one is very much I probably won't read it just because of the topics that are going on. However, I would love to support this author, but I probably won't read it. That's going to be Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. I read this author's memoir. I loved it. It is so well done. It's still up here on my nonfiction shelf. And I would love to support her, especially as she is entering into actually writing something that she had much more passion for as opposed to acting, what originally got her famous. This book is following a young woman who I believe is like 17 and ends up developing sort of an unusual, weird relationship with like her creative writing teacher. I think this sort of a story tends to have some really hard-hitting topics that definitely need to be discussed. And I can understand, especially off of some of McCurdy's background, why that would be of interest to her. But those sorts of stories just never interest me. I just know they're going to be depressing and frustrating. And like, I don't really want that sort of a reading experience. It might be impactful and I really hope it does do very well for her, but I don't really see myself reading it, unfortunately. That, and I'm also just not really much of a literary fiction person. So the genre itself kind of just tells me I'm probably not going to read it. Next question. What are some reading habits you want to change this year, if any? Honestly, I wouldn't say I really want to change any of my reading habits. I think the biggest one is I want to maintain the habit of picking up a book for just a little bit every day. Just getting a little bit of reading done every single day. I feel like I've done rather well with that with my 75 booked challenge because I just inherently know I need to pick it up for the challenge, and I'm hoping I'll maintain that feeling in my head once the challenge has ended. When I'm filming this, it has not yet ended. So here's hoping I do continue. I keep that momentum going. Really hoping. Next question. Are there any adaptations you're excited about? Yeah, absolutely. People We Meet on Vacation, the Emily Henry book, is getting a movie. I think it probably should be out by the time this video comes out. So I want to check that one out, even though I'm much, much more excited for Beach Read or Book Lovers. People We Meet on Vacation was fine, but it's definitely not my favorite of this author's work. However, I am intrigued to still get to see it come to this big screen and also get to support this author. On the opposite side, I gotta say Project Hail Mary, and this one's actually a little surprising just because I didn't love Project Hail Mary. Like, I enjoyed it, but it's not a favorite or anything. I wouldn't buy a copy to keep on my shelves. However, I do think this story will translate better in a film. So I'm hoping I'll enjoy it. I'm definitely excited to see my boy Rocky, and I'm very curious to see how they're going to animate him for the film. So even though I didn't love the book, I am pretty excited for the movie. I won't lie. Next question. Favorite bookish memory of last year? I gotta say the D&D readathon. This was hosted by Ivy. I'll put a link to her in the description down below. And it was so much fun. I'm so glad she asked me to be a host because I had a great time with it. It was such a cool readathon, super unique, like something something that is so true to D&D in comparison to like any other readathon I've ever participated in. I had such a good time getting to bond with my fellow co-hosts. We're actually going to be hosting a book club going off this, which I'm really excited for. I had a phenomenal reading month during that readathon as well. That readathon was such a highlight of last year. And final question, carryovers from last year that you still plan on finishing. Here's hoping by the time you're watching this, I have finished out Our Dear Miss H is on the Case by Violet Marsh. I started this one in like, I think November, and I barely started into it. Pretty quickly had to put it down, unfortunately. But I do plan to read this for a video, and I'm also just hoping to get another owned TBR book off of my shelf. So this is kind of a cozy historical mystery mixed with a romance where we're following Georgina. Georgina is an archaeologist, but due to the time period, of course, she can't work under her own name. Instead, she uses that of her partier cousin, and he has no problems with that. But unfortunately, he ends up going missing along with her most recent find, which was a really big one. So she enlists the help of his best friend to try and figure out what happened to him and also find this artifact. But a romance starts to develop between the two of them. I liked what I read when I first started into this one, so as I said, I'm planning for this to be my second book in 2026. Hopefully I finished it by the time you're watching this video. Also, another book, I think actually I had to put this down at the start of the D&D readathon because only books that you had started in November would work for it, but I was halfway through My Darling Dreadful Thane by Joanna Van Veen, and I was really enjoying this one actually. I just need to pick it back up and finish it out. I haven't made the decision if I'm going to restart it or not, so I am excited to pick it back up. It is on my 10 books to read for 2026. That'll kind of give me some extra oomph to get it read. But we are following Bruce, who has a spirit companion. However, her mother utilizes her for faking seances in order to bring in money, but they end up having a participant of Agnes, this young woman who is a widow and also very rich. And Agnes ends up bonding with Bruce and actually taking her in. As I said, I was really enjoying this one, and I was very intrigued by the events that are kind of being alluded to because we also get the perspective of a doctor who is interviewing who I believe to be Roos, and you kind of get little nudges towards something suspicious that may be happening down the line. And like I said, I was really enjoying it. I'm very excited to finish it out. Finally is one that I was really excited to read going into last year, but unfortunately Dracula by Bram Stoker, I got like, I don't know, fourth of the way through it and just I totally fell off doing this. I initially was reading it as a part of a buddy read in a Patreon I was a member of, but fell off of that. And then I tried doing Dracula daily and also fell off of that because I'm not very good at checking my personal email daily. I don't know. I'm very curious on how best should I try and read this because I don't think sitting down to read it would actually do very well for me. So maybe I'll try the Dracula daily again this year, and I'll have to figure out some sort of a way to like really stay on top of it because I do want to read this and I was enjoying it. You're finally getting like some real setup to actually, you know, seeing Dracula be Dracula, and just totally failed at it. All right, so on that note, that's officially it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let's leave a bat emoji for Jan in the comments. I have links to all of my socials as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!